Hi, and welcome to Creative Conversations, brought to you by the Lamplighter Guild. And we have a very special guest tonight, Jurgen Beck. He's a film composer, award-winning film composer, and he showed me just a little glimpse earlier today of what he has in store for you, and it's going to be really cool. Okay, hang in there, you really enjoy this. Tonight we're going to learn how to create emotions through music. We're going to learn some key components in orchestrating your music. We'll get some technical tips, and we'll learn the business side of music. And finally, we'll get some practical tips to help you grow as a composer. So you're in for a big treat. And it's free. That's amazing. All right. One to do our commercial. Here's our commercial. This is really cool. The Lamplighter Guild is coming up June 25th through 30th here in New York. I'm here at Lamplighter headquarters. That's really cool. It's a great place to be. There's lots happening here, including the Guild coming up in June 25 through 30. Space is limited. It's only limited to a certain amount of students, so you want to register soon. You can talk to your grandparents and parents. Hey, it's a great Christmas gift kind of thing. I want to let you know something. First of all, if you don't know about the Guild, it's all about redeeming the arts for the glory of God. You're going to learn about music composing, writing. You're going to learn about painting, photography, filmmaking, just all kinds of amazing things, and biblical theology, all in one intensive, life-changing week. If you want to know about the Guild, all you got to do is talk to a Guild student. Somebody's gone, and they'll tell you. It's amazing. All right, when I register by October 31, because here's what you get. If you register by October 31st, you'll get $100 off your registration. So that's kind of cool right there. That's by Monday, October 31st. And you will get 2 free Lamplighter Theater audio dramas if you're a former Guild student. If you've attended Guild before, we're going to throw that in as a gift to you. The Lamplighter Guild, the Lamplighter Theater, 2 of those of your choice. So that's coming up on Monday. You want to register by then, get $100 off those 2 free audio. If you want some Guild information on the Guild, go to lamplighterguild.com. Real quick, couple of things. You're going to stand by. Wait, talk. Hang on. All right. This is cool. This is the Lamplighter catalog. This is a big thing here. It's amazing. It's fun to go through with your family. I gotta show you something. This is cool. Mark told me to tell you about this. If you go to page 63, right here, I don't know if you can see it or not. Right here is an amazing book that says you gotta tell the ghosts. See it? You see this Saving Leonardo. You see it down there? It's by Nancy Pierce. This is an amazing book. She was a student of Francis Schaeffer, and I'm muted. Hold on. Somehow I muted myself. Hold on. Okay. I think I'm back up. There we go. Okay. So anyway, am I on, Carrie? Can you just let me know? I guess I am. Okay, I am on. Sorry. Okay, just my audio went out for some reason. Anyway, this is cool. This book is called Saving Leonardo. It's by Nancy Pierce. I don't know if you can see that or not. But Mark says you got to tell the Guild students about this, and it's an amazing book that it draws together the arts and biblical theology. If you read any Francis Schaeffer, it's amazing stuff. But his student here draws it all together in a way that will just empower the craft of your art as well as the spirituality of your art. It's an amazing book. So Saving Leonardo, he highly recommends it. He said this is the best book for Lamplighter Guild students. So there we go. End of commercial. Okay, but that's good stuff I was telling you. Okay, all right, we're gonna have bring on Jurgen Beck right now. He is an award-winning composer. He's done numerous films. If you've seen Beyond the Mask, wow, what a film! And the score is by Jurgen Beck. He's coming up here now. Beautiful score, amazing score. He's done many commercials. He has a composer mentoring program that you might want to check out. That's a really cool thing he can tell you about. He's a featured speaker at the Christian Worldview Film Festival in San Antonio, and he is a featured speaker, teacher at the Lamplighter Guild. The first year we're going to have Jurgen Beck to join us. And so Jurgen, come on board, and we'd love to talk to you.
Hey,
There he
It's
is.
great to be on with you, John. Obviously, awesome time. I know you and I have had some conversations, always have a fun time, so I'm really looking forward to this. Really do.
Yeah. Well, Jurgen, can you start off just kind of tell us a little bit about uh, just give some tips on how to create emotions through music? Can you tell us some tips on how you do that? And by the way, your show is that you have a special screen in your show a little later on, aren't you? Some really cool
Yes,
stuff.
yes, I
Okay.
am.
Yeah, yeah.
The big reveal will happen.
Big reveal. Okay. I like your sense of drama.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely,
All
absolutely.
right.
Well, creating emotions. I mean, obviously, music does certain things to certain people. Um, Not to everyone. I mean, not everyone likes music. Some people, for whatever reason it is, there may be some history there. They're not into music, and they never really bother that much about it
Wow.
either. But those who really subscribe to the emotional aspects of what music can do and does many times do have a reaction, an emotional reaction. I mean, you can tell this. Just think about all the films, all the movies that you watched, and there's a particular scene that comes up. Guess what? What gets cued? It's music that goes right along with that, and there's a very specific
Yeah.
reason for that, of course. The fact that music reaches into innermost depths, or actually, let me say it this way. I mean, this is probably a good way of saying it. Some people may disagree with that, but music has the ability to reach inside of us deeper than anything else. Words or pictures or anything else that we might perceive with our senses. Now, uh, I'm not saying that it replaces everything else, not at all. But music has a special ability, really, the capability of reaching us in ways. Just think about how often that has happened to you, whereby you just hear a specific piece of music, and either a memory comes up, a memory that has a particular emotion attached to it. Music has that power, and as a musician and as a composer, we're tapping into that.
Jurgen, I was when I listened to Lamplighter before we add music, the actors are doing an amazing job of bringing it together, and you hear the emotion. But when the music's added to it, it takes you to a whole other level. You just feel the depth of it. You can,
Yes.
for each of the scenes. I've seen that happen.
Hmm.
So, one other thing, you might have, I'm sure you've seen this, but there's something on the web. This is the ending scene of Star Wars, and they do it without music.
Oh yeah.
And it's really dull and boring. We add that music, it just adds a little bit of dimension.
Yeah, I mean, this is a test that you can do yourself at home. You just put on a movie or whatever it is that you want to watch, and then just mute it, and see what it does. Sometimes scenes and action, sounds really silly. Or when you have a particular action that takes place, whether it's just real action or just two actors acting it out, dialogue or whatever that is, then that music comes alongside that and sort of provides the underlying story a lot of times. And then you have situations where in action movies, this is very common, you have that real, low bass and drums and everything that comes in, or you see a person walking through a room, and the music has actually the ability to turn that scene either into a thriller or into a comedy.
Wow. Just based on the music.
Yeah, I sometimes demonstrate that in the workshops that I give. It's just basically the same scene. A guy walks through a house, and just looks around, no particular expression on the face. But then the music tells the viewing audience whether this is a comedy. It's quite amazing. That's the power of music.
That's cool. By the way, I want to tell our listeners, if you want to jump into the conversation, you're welcome to join us by Facebook. Go to the Lamplighter Guild for Creative Disciplines Facebook page, and you can either send us a message, a private message, or just comment. And we'll get those from Carrie, who's moderating everything, and she'll send us your notes, and we can see those, and we can respond to your questions right here online. So feel free to jump into the conversation. I'd love to hear your questions, and we'll get to those. So just go ahead and pop on there, and we'll answer those. You mentioned about how emotions they're created through music. Mm-hmm. What does, and I'll ask a very simple question, what does, how do you convey like anger, or how do you convey delight in music? What do you use to illustrate different emotions? Can you give us an example?
Love that question, John, really do. Because you're touching on a concept that we as composers, and not just composers themselves, but more importantly, orchestrators employ when they work through the music. All music essentially starts in a very simple way. Many times you just have a melody, and you then into a larger piece, into a larger composition. What you do in order to make that melody into something that, as you describe, conveys a certain sense of what needs to be done in is really orchestration. So if you have a sense of foreboding that happens, you can have a very simple theme that is played by, let's say, the lower string section in a string orchestra, accompanied by the lower woodwinds, and all of a sudden you have a very brooding and foretelling feel.
Hold on for just a moment.
Yep.
For some reason we've got you muted.
Okay.
Could you pull that up, please?
Yeah. I think I'm on.
It's showing muted on my side.
Yeah, but can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay.
So Carrie, can you hear us okay?
It's we should be good to go.
Should be good? Okay. I see it says muted here. Maybe that's just your other screen. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry,
the other screen. Not a problem at all. No. Just see, what we're doing here is this is the unveiling. It's going to happen later. So what we've done right now is I'm speaking through the computer where the unveiling is going to happen.
Oh, the unveiling.
Yeah. So that's the one that's not muted, so that we can actually hear each other. Okay. But we were talking about orchestration. Really, orchestration is the tool, it's the mechanism that we use to allow a melody to be put into a different way. So you can have that same melody, and then all of a sudden, you put something lighter to it. You have some light flute or woodwinds arrangement, or higher strings are doing something. Do some runs and things like that. You can change what is called the meter. You can change the rhythmic feel, and they all work together. So it has something to do with the arranging and the orchestration of that music.
That's cool. Can you tell us what are some key components of orchestrating music? How do you? What are the components that come into creating a music score? Can you take us through that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Okay.
When you start, and you might see this later on in the example, and we can dive in anytime really that you want, but more than anything, what you do with orchestration is you color. It's just like, picture somebody painting a picture, and they determine that this the dominant color is going to be blue, and everything else is sort of supplemental to it. Then when that painting is done, and you look at it and go, oh, wow, that's blue, and you can do the same thing with orchestration. So you do paint with colors, and there are certain colors that instruments have, even particular instruments like a violin has a particular sound in specific registers. In the lower registers, it may sound woody and full, and you bring it up further into the register means that the pitch is higher. It sounds higher, not just in volume, but the overall timbre of that instrument. And you do the same with food. So you have different colors of these instrument ranges, and you work with them. And of course, you need to know what you do.
You're going to tell me something before you go unveiling here. We're making a big deal about this. It's going to be cool. Just before we do that, tell me how spirituality, our walk with God, how does that relate to music? How does that inform or inspire your music? Tell me what the connection is there.
As a follower of Christ, this obviously to me is center point. Um, Let me say it this way. Can you create music outside of a relationship with Christ? Of course you can. It's just like with everything else. God has created the universe, has created this earth, and everything that's in it. And that includes also our capability to create art. Very much so. We're created in His image. And as the grand creator and grand builder, that's part of what He does and what He can do. And whether you follow Christ or not, this may be a controversial statement, but whether you follow Christ or not, you're tapping into that mechanism. You're tapping into that potential, simply because we're God's creation. Now, having said that, there is an additional dimension that we somewhat bypass, creating outside of a relationship with Christ. And that may sound a little silly to say it that way, but as a musician and as a composer, when I sit down and I have an inspiration, a piece of melody comes to me, and I start developing that, there is a certain sense of joy that comes with that. There's a sense of knowing and feeling that you're being used in a good way, being used as a tool that the master, of course, God, is using. And I can't tell you how often this happens where, especially when composing a score for a film, for a movie, I don't even look at the picture. I don't even look at the movie at the time that I'm composing. And where everything has to line up very specifically to scenes. You know, there's certain, what we call them cue points or moments where the music has to do something very specific, right? And I'm not even looking at that at the moment. I'm just working around the melody, developing that, or the chord progression or something like that. And it isn't until later on when I then watch that together with the film, with the picture, that I'm going, my goodness, what just happened? You know, it's just like, it's just, those are moments where I know that God has, through His Holy Spirit and the abilities that He has given and the craft that He has allowed me to develop, the skills that He has allowed me to develop, has created something very special. And that is a dimension that it's still there, but there's just a deeper understanding and something that helps you deepen your relationship with Christ, really, because you know He's using you in that ability that He has given you.
Wow, that's very cool. Can't wait for our students to hear you at the Lamplighter Guild. If you just joined us, I want to remind you that this is Jurgen Beck. He's our award-winning film composer, and he's going to be teaching at the Lamplighter Guild June 25 through 30th this summer. And you want to register by Monday if you can to get $100 off your registration. And if you're a Guild student, you get 2 free Lamplighter Theater audio dramas. So just want to let you know about that. You can find more at lamplighterguild.com. And we got a question from my friend Max. Max is a cool guy. I hope you get to meet Max at the Guild this summer. Max is asking 2 questions. He says, how does layering work? And then how do you build a score? So can you
Very good question. Very good question.
Nice segue for us.
Oh, man, it is. Thank you, Max. Really appreciate it.
Good job, Max.
Yes, how do you develop a score? Really, you start with a very, very simple element, and that's just basically the melody. That can happen just by you standing in the shower and all of a sudden inspiration hits, you know?
That's when it hits me, yes.
Yeah, that's right. And that's when you're composing. That's when you're writing, right? Whether you put it on paper or not, or you have, you know, someone outside the shower, you know, you're yelling the notes to them or something. I don't know. You're composing. And that is the very, that's sort of the genesis. That's where it all starts. Sometimes it's a melody, sometimes it's a chord progression. You know, you just tinker around on the piano or the keyboard, and all of a sudden, you know, there's a certain chord progression that starts developing. And those are the basic elements. Now, what happens now is exactly what he's asking about, what Max, you're asking about, and that is the layering. The layering comes in different forms. We already talked about orchestration. Orchestration is one aspect of that, where you're figuring out what instrument section is going to do what. And at a fundamental way of putting this is when you have a melody and you have a 3-part or 4-part accompaniment. That means that you have a chord. I'm speaking in a little musical term that comes across. Then at that point, you have a foundation that you can build upon, because everything else is then being taken from that. The chord structure is going to give us indications what we can stick into specific sections. For example, we want to start out with a chord that's being held over 2 bars that the string section is playing, just a very light sound, and that already gives a sense of expectation, that's already there. And then all of a sudden you have a melody that comes in on top of that. You know what? I think this is a really good time to start looking at some of this stuff.
Let's
What do you
do
think,
it.
John?
The great unveiling.
The great unveiling comes. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and what I've prepared is a piece. And let me know when you see that.
Okay.
John, is it coming up?
Okay, Carrie, I'm just I don't see how you're switching, so I'm assuming it's up.
Yeah, Carrie will need to switch it. Carrie is the master switch person.
It's up, she says.
Awesome. All right. So let me take you through this.
Here.
Yes, this is what is called a digital audio workstation. And that digital audio workstation allows me to not only compose music. Of course, I can do it with pen and paper, which I do. And I have other tools to do this with, notation software that can be used as well. But here is a tool. That digital audio workstation allows me to write my melodies, not only the melodies, but it also allows me then to go in and build that orchestration. And in the words, Max, great question, building the layers on top. So let's look at what we just talked about. I'm going to play a little segment of this. Now, everyone who is tuned in, obviously this sounds a whole lot better outside of the webcast, because there's stuff like compression and things like that involved. And I believe Carrie has prepared some links where you can actually go and listen to this in a less compressed format. So please forgive if this doesn't come entirely clear through your speakers. But
real quick, Carrie, you can put that link on the Facebook page, is that right? I guess we can do that. And by the way, real quick before Jurgen jumps in to the demonstration. Yes, okay, so it's going to be on the Facebook page. If you have any questions for Jurgen, feel free to jump on the Lamplighter Guild for Creative Disciplines, our Facebook page, and pop in a message to us or comment, and we'll be just to make it interactive. We answer all your questions, all right? Just like we do with Max. Okay, back to you, Jurgen.
Great. So we talked about, working out a basic concept, chords, that just come to us. We noodle around on the piano and we thought, hey, this is a great concept. So this score started out exactly that way. This is actually a score for a short film titled Essence, the human-horse relationship. And I think Carrie has that link too. It's about 8 minutes long.
Beautiful film.
Yeah, beautifully shot, great storyline, and great concept in that. And so this is the score for that film. And when you go onto YouTube, you can actually watch the whole thing with the score. And of course, the voiceover narration that goes on top of that. So I'm going to play just a little bit of that, and then we're going to jump to a section where I'm going to talk a little more about what we did there. But again, this score, this composition really started out with just a basic chord. And that's all it was in the beginning. All right, I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So, yeah, John, you remember we talked about colors? That's really what we do here is we paint with colors musically. There are certain things that happen. I think the cello that was in here wasn't loud enough, quite loud enough to hear it. But you get the sense that there's a story to be told. And of course, there's narration at the beginning. So the music has to do something very specific. It has to sit underneath that narration. But at the same token, convey the sense of that wonder, talking about horses. I mean, horses are beautiful beings, beautiful animals. And as such, she's taken some aspects that we now mirror with the music. But it's just a chord. And in fact, I'm going to give some secrets away here. If you look at this here, that little block, I'm going to make it a little bigger. This is in my digital audio workstation, what is called MIDI, musical information that is being sent to a virtual instrument. This is just for the strings. You heard them. And so we have these 3 notes. We have an A here for those who speak music. Then we have a D, and then we double that an octave higher with another A, and that is what's called a fifth. And a fifth is a very common occurrence in film music because what it does is it's sort of neutral.
So you have an A, a D, and an A?
Yeah, this is an A and a D and an A. And when you play this back, this does not give you any kind of indication whether this is a major chord, a happy chord, or a minor chord. Because the third is missing.
You're missing the third, yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So what we do there is we just let this sit there, and then on top of that, I have other elements in that orchestration that then convey to the listener, hey, this is a happy deal or a sad deal.
Can I ask you a technical question?
Absolutely.
How do you get that tinkly sound?
Tinkly sound. Oh, yeah. There's
what is that? It's kind of like tinkles up your spine. What is that?
Those are chimes. Now
Chimes. Okay.
Yeah. So let me solo that. You hear that?
Cool.
So those are little metal bars, that are tuned to a particular pitch, and then you just strike them either with a mallet, a metal piece, or just with your finger. You just go down, and that's what that effect is. And then see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. That's orchestration. You determine what elements you want to put in there, and all of a sudden you have something that is just very beautiful. But now look at this. This goes on for a long time. See that fifth, and probably for, let's see, up here there's some timing, over a minute. And you go, are you nuts? Are you crazy? I probably shouldn't have said that. Yes, are you? This is silly. You can't do that. Well, you can if you know that you're sticking other elements into that orchestration, into that arrangement. You know that this is the foundation, and on top of that, you have some other things, such as, which wasn't loud enough, and I'm going to show it to you, a beautiful cello that is all, by the way, coming from, let me go into that, coming from computers, if you can believe that. I hope this is loud enough. I can make it a little louder. Yeah, that's just embellishments. And so, back to Max's question. That's what we do when we layer. That's what we do when we add additional instruments or elements to our orchestration to add interest to it or to highlight certain things that need to happen. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just real quick, I want to invite, as people are asking questions, I'm going to throw out one more way. If you don't have access for whatever reason, Facebook, you can also email us at at lamplighter.net. Again, mail at lamplighter.net. And of course, the best way is through Facebook. And that's at Lamplighter Guild for Creative Disciplines. And just pop on there and give us a message or give us a comment as we're going through this. This is fascinating. I love seeing the craft and how it comes together, how it sounds, and the colors you have of music. It's just beautiful, beautiful.
Well, it's like, to me, it's like solving puzzles.
How so?
Well, before music is fully realized in the way you see it here and played out, obviously these different blocks that you see on the screen, whatever they are, before all of that happens, there's a certain concept that you have in mind where you go, okay, I sort of know what I want it to sound like. But how do you get there? Well, sometimes it's experimentation. And if you have a lot of experience, of course, doing this, then at that point you just know what you need to pull out of the drawer, so to speak. Yeah. Just in fact, there is a sort of a concept that a successful classical composer, and maybe I should add a classical film composer, in the vein of a Jerry Goldsmith or a John Williams, you need to know what are called devices. Devices are small little phrases, and you need to have mastery of about 1,000 devices.
Whoa.
When you break a piece of music apart, and I'm talking about film scores or classical compositions, then what you see there at that point is even just 1 to 2 or even 3-second segments, and all of a sudden something changes again. And those 3 to 4 or 5-second segments are called devices. Just pay attention sometime when you watch a movie. Whether I don't know what your favorite movie is, but just pay attention to the music or pull up a soundtrack. And for example, animated films. Horton Hears a Who, or fantastic scores, How to Train Your Dragon. By John Powell, and Horton Hears a Who. John Powell did that score as well. He's a master of that. I mean, there's so much that happens. Of course, the music has to do something in accordance to what the film does or what the action does, but he is a master of these, devices where he's changing it up. I mean, it's just it's amazing.
That's cool. I'm looking at this screen you got here. Let's say I'm just starting in music or composition. I'm looking like how do I get started? What kind of program should I get? I mean, maybe I don't have a lot of money, or what do I do to get one of these digital audio workstations, or where do I start? Can you give some technical aspects so I can start composing? What do I do?
It's a very good question, John. In fact, everyone who starts out sort of scratches their head and has to find someone, who's already done it, and they try to figure out then what it is that they need at the bare minimum. There are a ton of software applications out there now, and the best thing that I can do is to recommend Googling for best digital audio workstation, DAW. There are programs out. I use Cubase Pro here. There are other ones, Ableton Live. There's Digital Performer. There are so many others. It depends on what platform you're on, whether you're on a Mac or a PC sometimes. Certain applications are not available on one or the other. But essentially, what you're looking for is a tool that allows you to work with MIDI tracks. MIDI tracks is what you see here. This template, what I have, and you just see a fraction of that, has something like 1,200 MIDI tracks, and that's just because my orchestral palette is really large and the instruments that are attached to this. But it needs to have the ability to work with MIDI tracks where you can record and work with virtual instruments, either built-in ones or you're adding to your library of virtual instruments as you go, depending on how much you want to invest in it. But a digital audio workstation is an absolute minimum. And again, you can do a search on the internet. There are plenty of websites out there that sort of rate them and compare them as well. So in other words, research is in order. Or if you can find someone who has done it, that you just bug them for a little bit, saying, hey, can I have about 10 minutes of your time? I'd like some recommendations. Most people are really happy to do that. And
sort of like recommendations.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And then we jump on stuff. That's what we do.
That's cool. Jurgen, by the way, if you're taking the music composition track with the Lamplighter Guild this summer, June 25 through 30, Mr. Beck here will take you. He's a master composer, and he will teach you all aspects of composing. He will mentor you as you're going through that week spent in music, and it's a wonderful opportunity. I had a sneak peek. I was at the Christian World Film Festival, and I got to hear Jurgen speak, and it just lit me up. It's you're in for a treat when you hear Jurgen teach this summer. Real quick, Jurgen, we're in your studio now. Is that right?
Yes, we are.
If it's too much trouble, just let me know. But can we take a look around? Do you mind? Just show us a little bit, or not? Or you're saying it's kind of messy, maybe?
Well, it's besides messy. No, it's not that messy. I could do that, but I'm not too sure how that's going to work with the camera and all.
Oh, okay. Did you still down a little bit, maybe just to see?
Yeah, Carrie, you will need to switch to my other screen.
Just quick to see a little bit of your studio. What we're seeing is really cool.
Okay, so hold on. Maybe I can change.
If it's too much trouble, don't worry about it. It's just curious.
There we go. Okay, so
ooh, that's cool.
Here's the screens. Oh yeah, this one here. Lava lamp. I don't have it on right now. I probably should have turned it on, but that's an absolute must. I mean, you got it. That's one of the first things you have to go and get. Definitely.
Lava lamp.
Here's the screen.
Oh, that's cool.
Here's my workstation that I have.
Oh, that's cool. What kind of keyboard do you have? This is
an Akai. It's a MIDI keyboard. It's an 88 key MIDI keyboard, MPK 88, and then on top of that, I have an Akai, a synth style.
Coffee. That's essential.
Yep, absolutely. Right there it is, right there. And if I untether, then we're going to have some problems.
Oh, no. That was really cool right there.
Yeah, hold on.
Max was asking what kind of microphone you use. You got a really nice mic there. What kind of mic is that?
This is a Rode. It's the NT1. And is it?
How do you spell it?
NT. N as in Nancy, T as in Tom.
What was the brand? Sorry?
Rode. RODE.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, I love this one.
Yeah,
now there's some additional processing there, some compression and EQing to make my voice sound nice.
Great.
Yes.
I have a Mac, MAC. Yeah, that's what it is. Just a Mac. But anyway, you sound great. So let me ask you, Jurgen, we're starting new music. We want to compose. We want to get into it. Can you take us? This is what you do for a living. You do music, and what is it like jumping into the business side of music? Because let's say I'm a very creative person, all right, and I'm getting ready to start with composing and all that. But what do I do on the business side? That's a whole other field. Can you help me through that? How do we jump into the business side of music?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and actually a crucial question. I would say that you need to approach this very carefully. I had a while ago, and I'm not trying to put that person on the spot. Obviously, nobody knows who that is, but I had a question from a young gentleman a couple of years back. He had just graduated from college down here close by, and he had done a music master. He wanted to become a professional composer, working composer, earning a living from it. And so we were just sitting in a studio, and he was just leaning over and said, "So, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to get into the music business?" And this is what I told him, and that wasn't meant in any like a flippant way or I just basically said, get a job. Seriously, get a job. Unless you are extremely talented and just everything is just going your way, and it's just you put stuff out there that's magnificent. You're going to be swimming against the current that is pushing you back. What do I mean with that? It is life in general. Assuming that at some point you want to get married, that is in some way going to be a challenge, because you're not going to make a lot of money at the beginning, especially. And so what I'm trying to say here is you need to figure out some sort of a way that you can sustain yourself. And if you get married and if you start a family, support your family while you're working your way to that not so much a dream, but that passion that you have that has been deposited in you, where this becomes a reality, whereby what you do with most of your waking hours is actually paying the bills. It's going to be a long road. Some never get to that point. Some just, with the competition that's out there, and hundreds and thousands of people are trying to do the same thing. You have to figure out how to get there, how to do this. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine in the UK was working just a regular job, great musician. The stuff that he put together and put out there on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com is a great place to put your music up. Just awesome guy, awesome musician. And for the very longest time, he just held a regular job, and in the evenings and on the weekends, he just was sitting in his room, quote unquote studio at home, and was just noodling around, was just working on these music pieces. He then essentially signed up with a production music library. That's a topic for another webinar that we might need to jump on, because there's a lot to that if you want to take that route. But production music that he turned out and sent in, and he got paid, when someone took that music, he got paid royalties. And so he worked himself piece by piece to the point where he and his wife felt that now they can make the jump to doing this full time. And he has done it, and he's successful with it, and that's it. But you know what? If something would go terribly wrong with that aspect, he most likely could fall back on his previous job or his previous expertise that he has gained over the years. So what am I saying here? I'm not trying to discourage anyone. More than anything, I want to instill hope. Determination. Figure out for yourself what it is that you currently need financially. In other words, create a budget for yourself. Stick to that budget. And then look perhaps 5 years down the road from now. If you're young, you're not married yet, and you have the desire to start a family, get married and start a family, figure that in. Figure out what is needed to make that happen and create a pseudo budget based on that. And then work your way toward that. And if that means that for now you're going to have to hold just a regular job while you continue to improve your skills in your craft and create better and better music, put yourself out there and show the world that you have what it takes to do either film scores or to do game scores or to be in production music or to create music for choirs and churches, or if you want to become an orchestrator, take orchestration courses or, read books, do self-study. In other words, determination. Do whatever it takes to get you there, but don't forget the business aspect. Don't forget the practical side of things.
And you live that. You have your own business doing this.
Totally.
For that.
Yeah.
Jurgen, two things I want to do. I would love to hear some more of you. If you can give us a little snatch of your music, just even a 2 or 3 minute or something like that. We hear some more. What I've heard, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I can actually. Yeah, I can show you a little bit more how we go from melody to a fully produced piece.
Could you please do that? And one thing I want to, as you're doing that up, I want to be thinking about another question. I was just kind of thinking ahead. Is like about the calling. How do we know we're called to do music? I want to hear music first, if you wouldn't mind. Okay, it's a little ADD moment, John. So
Nah, not a problem. Not a problem. Actually, I'm going to take a different segment from that 8-minute score.
Sure.
That very beautifully exemplifies what we do going from a melody to the fully orchestrated piece. And I'm going to point something. So, Carrie, if you could switch us back to my digital audio workstation screen. Hopefully that works. So here we have something very simple, and I'm going to bring up a score display so those who read music can actually see this. So what we've done here is we have a very simple melody. I'm going to play this back for you. Very simple. I mean, this can't get any more simple. But then we have some variation, both rhythmically and melodically. You could take this melody and create a hymn from it, right? John, I would hand it over to you, and you, being the author and the master of words, come up with some lyrics, and all of a sudden we have a hymn, right? We have our chord progressions up here. We have a D. We have a D over an F sharp. Yeah, it's up here. I'm not sure if I can highlight it.
Okay, I see.
You see it?
Oh, it says D up there.
Yeah, D, and then we have a we have a D. Yeah, we have a D over an F sharp. That's right. And then we have a G over a B. We have an F sharp minor 7th, and those are the chords that I was talking about earlier. Okay, so we've worked this out to the point where I know where this needs to go, and now, in addition to that melody, we now hear the chords, and this is the piano roll. If I bring this up as a notational piece, it probably looks a little bit more messy, so I'm going to leave it with that. I'm going to play this back now. So you can hear it now, it develops because to the melody, the melody was very simple. But at the same token, it allowed us to do something underneath with the chords. We have chord variations in there that create just a very beautiful piece. All right? So now, since we have the chords in place, we now know what we want to do with the accompaniment. And so we work this out. And this is where the craft comes in, John. This is what I was talking about earlier. Orchestration. You need to understand and you need to learn, even if you do this in the virtual world, what we do here now. Of course, this is all coming from the computer. We need to understand. Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No.
Just a quick question. Those chords up there at the top, is that something you put in there, or the computer figured it out?
No, I put this in there. Yeah, I figured out the chords. That's when I noodled around on the piano. I had the melody, and then I tried to figure out the chords that go with that. And this was probably, sometimes this is very difficult. Again, I talked about a puzzle. This sometimes takes a long time to figure this out. I think John Williams said at one point the theme to Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. He worked on that melody, I think I'm quoting him correctly now, a whole week, 6 or 7 days.
Wow,
just different variations, Sometimes you have to do that. And sometimes you have to do that same thing with the accompaniment, the chords that you put to that. But now that we have the chords, now what's the next thing? Then I can now go into my strings, and I'm going to play these back, just the strings, and work these out. Of course, again, that's skill, that's the craft, that's the understanding of orchestration. What I was going to say is you need to have a good foundation when it comes to orchestration, even in the virtual world. or with virtual instruments, specifically with virtual instruments, you need to have a good understanding what this would sound like with a real orchestra.
Okay.
And that comes from listening to real orchestras play, either soundtracks or something else, classical pieces. And you need to understand the orchestration techniques that you apply to a real orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
If you apply those to your virtual instrument orchestrations, you are about 80% there. The rest then is just technical tweaking of individual notes and articulations and things like that. So I'm going to play this back. We heard the accompaniment, the chords, and you'll be able to recognize them now in this. Isn't that great?
That's beautiful.
So now what we have is that was the next layer. We built the accompaniment there. And of course, there are some counter melodies in there. There's such a thing as called counterpoint. It's one of the things that you learn in music theory, and you become a master of that. It'll help you a great deal. So it's another one of those things. So now we're going to bring those two things together. I'm going to add some vocals down here. And all of a sudden you have something that's sounding, you could leave it like this, and that's it. And from there, again, we're talking about layering. I want to make sure we get to some more questions and what you wanted to know. I'm just going to add that at this point. Everything else is just embellishments. Whether you take some synth elements like this here, that's adding not only rhythmically, but just some more interest to the piece. What else can we do? We have some woodwinds in here too. They're basically doubling some of what the strings are playing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you can hear it. It's very soft, because they're just coloring everything else. And all of a sudden, you come up with this.
That's beautiful.
So
Wow.
that's what we do. And again, a lot of that is orchestration. You just it's a puzzle. You try to figure out what sounds well together. Coloration. You're doing a lot of times what is called doubling. You're taking what I mentioned earlier, woodwinds, and you have them repeat or double what another instrument section does. It's a study of orchestration, and it's a big field. But every composer, even if you're just starting out, it is highly recommended that you at least check it out, because it'll help you in your compositional skills as well, knowing what to do where in what section. And this applies not only to orchestral writing, but you heard some synth elements in here, whether you do hybrid composing, hybrid scoring, and writing music, it doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Well, this is really enjoying this. Good stuff. I'm inspired. I want to get home and get on my music as well. So I can't wait to start. We only have just a few minutes left here, and I've got a big question to ask you. So I don't know if we can. It's kind of like what Dr. from the Guild here the rest of this, I guess. But succinctly, could you tell us? This is a tough question, but as far as calling, how do I know I'm called to write music? Let's just apply to any creative field. How do I know I'm called to write? How do I know I'm called to paint? Or how do I know it's God's calling? How do I know that?
I would liken a calling to a burning. A burning in your spirit, a burning in your heart, out of which comes a passion to pursue and to dedicate your life toward a field. And, you know, when it comes to music, if every time a piece of music pops up somewhere, you know, you take note of that. You're going to sleep at night, and in your dreams, you're humming melodies, your melodies going through your mind, you know. In other words, it just doesn't let go of you. And that burning is there, you know, that's when you know that you have a calling, at least in my estimation.
Wow.
Now, how do you go from there to putting it into action? Well, that's really what it is, putting it into action. You know, that's where the dedication and the commitment comes in. With my composing mentoring students, what I do is before we start anything, I have them write a 500-word essay why they want to be a composer. Because that is sort of like a stake in the ground. You remember in the Old Testament, the Israelites, when they had a specific experience, you know, they crossed a river or whatever it was, then they put milestones up, they put stones up, a memorial. Mm-hmm. And that is similar to that, because another 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, when they hit a rough patch, you know, for them to be able to come back to this, you know, when they get frustrated because something doesn't work out technically or with a business, or, you know, they're just not getting anywhere. And they need a reminder of that passion that is burning within them. Because life wants to come and put water on that fire, you know, then they pull that out and they go back. Yeah, this is what I felt when I had a clear mind and I started out the journey.
And you go back to those
yeah, absolutely.
You're got a question here. Have you ever written music in your dreams and woke up and you just had to write it out? Does that happen?
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time. Yeah.
That's cool.
Happens all the time. And I have my tools. You know, just a quick note on that. I have my tools set aside. Of course, you know, smartphones these days are great for that. Download yourself an app where you can just sing into it immediately. You know, you don't even have to sit down with pen and paper.
I've got soundtracks in my dreams. That's kind of cool. But this is a fascinating question. That's something that I have to do.
Yes.
Real quick, as we close out, we just have one more thing I wanted to ask you about, because it's something we promised to give to our Guild students, is some tips. How do you grow as a composer? Can you tell us, like, in just a minute, how you grow as a composer?
Yeah, that goes alongside with a passion. And I mentioned this earlier, skills, craft. You need to grab whatever you can, read. There are plenty of places online. AlexanderPublishing.com is a great place for resources for composers, where you can learn orchestration techniques. It's the studying of existing scores, whether they're classical or modern. There's some film scores out there that you can find on the internet, and you can study them. You can listen to the soundtracks and see what the sections do. Go to concerts, real concerts, and listen to what a real orchestra sounds like. And then just studying. Get books, online resources. There are great classes out there. When you are at a particular point, you know, find a mentor that can help you grow. And that's how you do it. But again, it's that dedication, it's that passion, that determination. If that's not there, then you really need to pray about it and see whether this is really something that you want to do or that you need to do.
And just to close out, just real quick, like half a minute, any kind of final advice you would have for our buddy music composers out there, people want to get into composing, making music, any kind of last bit of information, last half minute here?
Yes, absolutely. Listen, don't take music so serious that you forget being a human being. Being a human being that others like to be around. What you do does not define who you are in Christ. Make sure that your foundation is in Christ and not in your music or anything that you do in arts. That foundation is Christ and Christ alone, and that is your ground out of which things such as music and other arts grow. So make sure that's there.
Jurgen, thank you very much. It's been great to be with you.
My pleasure.
Really enjoyed this. Thank you for being part of this.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure, John.
All right, we've been with award-winning composer Jurgen Beck, and Jurgen is going to be teaching at the Lamplighter Guild this summer. That's June 25 through 30 in New York, and space is limited. So if you want to sign up for the Guild, do it quickly. You can do it as a Christmas gift. Hey, mom, hey, grandma, help us out here. It's a wonderful, life-changing experience. It's all about the arts redeemed for the glory of Christ. And we see amazing, I'm one of the teachers as well, I teach writing, but just to see students' lives change through the experience of the Guild, it's phenomenal what happens. Talk to any Guild student, they'll tell you about it. And if you are a Guild student, got a special gift for you coming up. If you register by Monday, that's October 31st, by Monday, that's Monday a week from now, we'll get you $100 off your registration. And so that's a good deal right there. And we'll give you 2 free Lamplighter Theater audio dramas that you can have, anyone you would like. And that if you register by October 31st, that's coming up a week from Monday. So I want to keep a note of that. If you need any information you want about the Guild, look on the web here at lamplighterguild.com. Again, lamplighterguild.com. And wanted to thank you. Thank you for being part of Creative Conversations, and it's brought to you by the Lamplighter Guild. And again, any information you want to find out about the Lamplighter Guild, just check on the web there at lamplighterguild.com. And have a good night. Great to have you with us. Blessings to you.